Let's see. So, okay, it seems to be recording. So anyway, I'm listed here as next limit because the organizer has to start the thing, has to start the webinar. So unfortunately, I
Okay.
can't log in again using my account. So it's weird. Maybe we can take care of that for the next session.
Cool, cool.
Uh, okay, so let's see. So far, 9 people are here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hello, 9 people.
10 people now. Cool.
Whoa. Nice.
Very punctual.
And so anyway, to people that are here, I hope you can hear us okay. Let's see. What's here? I'm here, but I can't talk.
Okay, I'll leave you guys to it.
All
Best
right.
of luck and have a lot
Thanks,
of
Jana.
fun.
Thank you.
All right. I'll mute you, Jana. Sorry.
Great. Thank you. No,
If you hang around, we can talk later after the show.
yes, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, welcome to the 12 attendees now to the historic first Maxwell TV episode. And thanks a lot to Mirce as well. Am I pronouncing your name right, by the way?
Yeah, you actually are.
Mirce, is that okay? Ah,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, Mirce.
Okay. Cool. And thanks a lot for taking part in this first episode and presenting your project, which I
Yeah,
saw
sure.
on your website. It's really cool. You have some great renders there.
Thank you.
And anyway, I just want this to become like a sort of informal thing where I can mute anybody that wants to say something. You just raise your hand or post in the chat if you want to be unmuted, and you can ask your question instead of typing all the time. So the first thing, I guess I'll start doing this. Let's see if I can share my screen first of all. Yeah, this one. So I'll go through how to make this wet asphalt thing. Can you guys see that okay? Mirce, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll just go through doing this material quickly because some people asked me about it, and then I'll let it over to you, Mirce, after that.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Thanks.
Let's see. And by the way, Mirce, your staff,
Yeah.
so can you see people's questions? Can you have that? Do you have the question thing in the chat?
Yeah, I have a chat panel, but so far there has only been like 2 posts, which is, hi, can you hear me okay? And I can hear you fine by us. So I
Great.
don't really.
Okay. You don't see the question stuff? The question panel?
No. Are there any questions already or like any other comments? Because
No, I just people saying they can hear us. Okay, so that's
that's
cool.
fantastic. Perhaps I don't know if I'm presenter later or something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
that
can
will
see the
change,
questions maybe, but I'll take a look afterwards or
Fantastic.
while I'm talking.
Cool.
Okay, so let's start here with Studio. Okay, so basically I just pre-made this material, so nothing hopefully crashes while I present this, but I'll just redo it exactly as I did this one already. So new material, and the first thing, of course, I'm going to just add the base texture, the base asphalt texture. Let's see here, since it's already loaded. Should be here. So it's not a very good texture, actually. I just did this very quickly for an image I had to do. And so it's just a diffuse base, first of all, and maybe it's too dark now. Just brighten up a little bit. And now, since I'm going to apply this to this 10-meter plane, I'm going to switch on the use override map for the tiling, so I don't have to change the tiling in all of these layers. So I'm going to use the tiling from the override map here. Maybe start with setting it to 3 or something. I'm just going to apply it to the plane. Okay, so that's what it looks like so far. And it's lit by an HDR, by the way, the scene, and these lamps are from the library, file, library, bulbs here, object bulbs. I just imported these ones.
Okay.
And okay, so first I'm just gonna make like an overall wet looking asphalt everywhere. So I'm gonna add an additive layer. And I'm just gonna set this to 0 for now. I might as well set the ND to something like water. And I'm gonna use, first of all, a global bump map. But you see why I can't do that later on. I have to change it. So I'm just gonna load this normal map that I created from the asphalt in Photoshop and turn it on as a normal map. So already there's a sort of a wet looking thing there, asphalt looking thing, and maybe first of all I can lower the bump. So even with the normal map you can lower it a little bit and it's going to have a less of an effect. So now I have an overall looking wet asphalt. I guess you can see how it looks really wet everywhere. So to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm just going to load no, not this one. This one, a sort of a mask created also from the texture to make it not so evenly wet everywhere. And also, by the way, sorry, things just really freeze up a little bit when I hit the
The render button.
Yeah, especially with the material editor, I think it's very aggressive. Let me see if I can hit stop. Hopefully it still records when this happens. Let's see. And of course, not forgetting to also check the override map for any other map I add. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so maybe just raise the tiling one more. Okay, so I'm going to show you like two versions of wet stuff you can do with puddles. An easy version and a more, not difficult version, but a better version, because you'll see a little problem here. I'm going to add the puddles in a third layer. And actually I can just duplicate this one. And for the mask, I'm going to show you quickly also how to create this mask. So these are going to be my puddles here. And I'm still in additive mode for the puddles, which is going to be a little bit of a problem. And I could. No, it's just that it becomes too bright when it's not supposed to because of the water. It's supposed to be water on top, but it still becomes too bright. You can see here by the horizon. Let's see if that works. Okay. Compared to if I switch it to normal mode. You know, it's supposed to be dark like this because of the water puddles, not bright like this. If you watch here, it turns bright with the additives. But the main problem here now is that I can't use the global normal map anymore because the puddles are supposed to be just, you know, clear water. So I have to remove the normal map from here, and I'm just gonna set it to the wet asphalt on the bump here. So not forgetting to switch it off from global bump and set it also to use the override map. So now I have the sharp puddles. And set this also to normal mode. So already this could look okay, but the problem is now that since I have to keep the puddles here in normal mode, you can see here especially the difference if I switch to additive, it starts to look weird, especially here by the horizon. So I have to keep these puddles in normal mode. And the problem is now that they're hiding completely the asphalt underneath. Yeah. Because in a normal puddle, you would still see the asphalt underneath because the puddles are so thin, you know, it's not like a 5 meter deep puddles on the sidewalk, right? Yeah, so what you can do very quickly for the easy asphalt version is simply just lower the opacity here to maybe like something like 70. So then you start seeing the texture here from the bottom layer. You start seeing the asphalt again through the puddles. And I just made a render this one, I think, so you can see what that looks like. And it's still a bit of a problem because we're going to see the normal map from the additive layer. Let's see this one. Damn, they're named the same. Okay, this one. Can you see those little dots here where there's not supposed to be any? Right?
Yeah,
so
near the reflection of that.
Right, so I'm not supposed to see any bump there because it's just a very flat surface, it's the water surface. And I'm seeing that because I needed to lower a little bit the layer weight of the normal layer so I could see a little bit of the asphalt underneath here. I hope that's showing up through the video. It's visible on my screen.
Yeah, it's a decent resolution, it's noticeable. So.
Yeah, so I can see the asphalt a little bit, but now I have the problem that I'm seeing the normal map from the additive layer. Right, on the light here. So this would be the easy version. So if you're not too bothered with this, you know, it's okay. And of course, the more you raise the opacity here of this layer, the less you're going to see the normal map in the puddles. But a nice way to fix that is to actually double here the puddles layer. So I'm just gonna name this puddles diffuse. So I'm gonna set this to a diffuse. And I'm gonna set it to 100%. See what that looks like. So now I'm just seeing the diffuse texture here where the puddles are going to be. And now I have a second advantage with this approach because let me just duplicate this one more time, move this to the top and call this puddles water. And for this one again, I'm going to set the roughness to 0 and still keeping both of these in normal mode. Just do a fire of that again so you can see. Okay, so I have my puddles back. And to bring back the asphalt in the puddles, what I can do is simply again lower the opacity of this one. And instead of showing me now the layer 2 here, which is the wet asphalt, right, which has the normal map, now it's just showing me the diffuse puddles, which doesn't have any bump.
Okay.
And the second advantage is that now I can actually copy this to the diffuse, Just making sure it's use override map. And I'm sure all of you are familiar that when something is wet, it becomes darker. So you can mimic that also by just darkening this diffuse asphalt where the puddles are going to be visible in the water. So if I hide this, the puddles water for a bit so I can see what this texture looks like. Okay, so you can see how maybe that's even too dark. Let's see, 5. Still too dark. Maybe 15. Something like that. So now I have my sort of like underneath the water dark asphalt, and when I turn on the water puddles, everything comes together, and now I don't see any bump or any normal map that I'm not supposed to see. It's only visible in the wet asphalt here, not in the puddles. And because I lowered the opacity of the top puddles water layer, I can still see the asphalt a little bit underneath here. And also another advantage is that now with this mask I created for the puddles underwater here, I can play with the contrast a little bit and sort of make these edges smoother or sharper. So here if I raise the contrast, then suddenly the water, begins suddenly. But this isn't so realistic because if the puddles are thin, you're going to see like a small area here where the water is sort of mixing with the dry. So I still like to keep it not, completely sharp edges, but you can still play around a little bit like this. So you have separate control with the water puddles compared to the diffuse mask here. And that looks a little bit like this. Actually, not is this one or this one? This one. Okay, so you can see now that we don't get that little, I guess we could call it artifact, but it's not an artifact. The artifact of the normal map from the wet asphalt. We just see the clear puddle, and we also still see a little bit of the asphalt beneath, and we had this nice transition between the asphalt and the deeper puddle here.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so that's it really. It's all those layers, and again, you can change the transition here simply by using a sharper or a blurrier mask for the wet puddles. So you can see a sort of a dark outline here when the asphalt is still wet. Because imagine also you can have maybe a completely dry, you can have your sand, and then you have a puddle in the sand. In the transition here, it's going to be darker sand before you actually see only the water. Right. That's it.
Nice.
And just to quickly show, to create this puddle map. So create new, and I prefer to use for these 16-bit and grayscale to get a nicer transition in the blurry areas. It doesn't have to be too big because I still tile it, and then I use just filter. Render difference clouds. You can hit it again. Just go to filter difference clouds again to get a more contrasty look. And blur, Gaussian blur. Maybe something like this. And then finally, add a levels adjustment and then play with the levels to get that nice transition. right, so maybe something like that. So you just get a nice blurry area there, and then you can also merge those and then maybe just blur it a little bit more. You know, something like that. So it's not really super complex stuff. I mean, you can probably get better results also and much more flexible using something like Substance Designer. It's great for using for creating these kinds of maps because you can also go back and change exactly what you need and so on. And of course, they're also tileable directly, so you don't
Out
have
of
to.
the box, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to mess with. I mean, if you're not using Substance Designer, the way to make the tileable maps is just using here filters, offset, and then you offset it by the half of your document resolution. What's going on here? Okay, like that, and then you, of course, need to do the tedious stuff of blur, manually taking care of this, and this used to be fun, like old school map creation. And luckily you have the content to wear fill now, so it's
this is a godsend.
yeah, that's like poof.
Yeah.
Incredible AI.
Content to wear fill.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go, finished. Yeah, but what do you young people know when you didn't have that in Photoshop, you know, before? And you had to go with
use the stamp tool or something.
Stamp tool and mess with this stuff, you know.
Those were the days.
This is fun. Those were the days, yeah. You know, doing everything by hand, artisan style. Anyway.
Exactly.
So I hope that's useful for you, or that was useful. And if you have any questions, I'm not sure. You can raise your hand. There's some sort of functionality here if you want to talk. But hopefully I can see that. If anybody does that, where can I see that? Dashboard. Oh, questions here. Let's see. Somebody said, wow. Gregory said, wow. Thanks a lot. It's amazing, isn't it?
Nice.
Okay, so Mirce, I'm going to switch it over to you. If you're ready.
Sure, thanks. Yeah. Can I just ask you about how this thing goes as far as screen sharing is concerned? Like, do I have to open a separate app or something? Because I saw, is it like Skype screen sharing when I just see the whole desktop? And
no, for me, actually, if I switch the windows, it pauses the screen sharing. So you have to actually show the application you want to share. And you have an option there. Or actually, I think you can either share your entire screen or just an app. But I just resize these to full HD, which is the size of the recording. Because if you have a giant screen, then it's going to compress everything.
I have a 4K screen actually, so I hope it's not going to be.
Yes. Well, let's see here.
Let's check it out.
If I make you a presenter, and then you should see there's a button. There's a huge button with a pause, a symbol on it, and right below it you can choose what to share. If you want to share the entire screen or just an application window.
Okay. So sorry, which side is that supposed to be?
In the menu, in the sharing here, in the go to meeting stuff. Like in the menu in the go to meeting stuff.
Okay, so here comes that moment when we try to fiddle with the settings. So I have this.
Actually, let me make you a panelist first, because maybe you can't see because you're not a presenter.
Okay.
You're not
cool.
Let's see, make presenter. Are you sure you want to? Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Here it is.
Okay, let's see.
So I just clicked on show my screen. So I guess can you see it? Like,
let's see. Now yeah, now I can see it. I can see your entire screen now.
So it's just one middle horizontal screen, right? Because there's two verticals on the sides.
Yeah, I just see your entire screen.
All right, fantastic, cool. Yeah,
Great
so first,
background, by the way.
yeah, very motivational.
To sit in the office and work, right?
Something like that. Yeah. So yeah, first of all, thanks, Mihai, for this initiative. I think it's a great idea, and I hope it catches on.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I should just say a few quick words about myself and the office. My name is Mirce Melody. I am an architectural visualizer primarily because I studied architecture, but then along the way I just figured that I don't want to be an architect. I would rather focus more on the presentational aspect of the profession, which I guess is like the classical story of archviz dudes. Yeah, like 4 years ago, I started rendery.com. I've been freelancing for 3 years on my own, and then due to like a lot of work, I invited a friend called Matej to come and help. So now there's two of us. So I'll be talking in plural. And yeah, initially it all started like as an archviz thing, but along the way I figured that I could use this media as well for like product presentations and animations, or like lately we've been doing some VR stuff like for the Oculus and so on. So yeah, it's a very versatile media and it can be used in so many fields, and that's why I love about it. And not every project is the same, so so yeah, that's the fun of it. So yeah, when we were talking on the forums, I suggested that maybe we should go and make a breakdown of this project. It's called Villa Z. It's designed by Šabac Kalan Šabac Arhitekti. It's an office from Slovenia. And so when I was thinking about how to do this, I didn't know like whether, I mean, basically I decided to just like show the whole process of how we do images, and then since we mentioned at the beginning that we want this to be informal, I would just like to emphasize that please, if you have any questions along the way, do interrupt and ask, and I'll try to answer everything.
Cool. Yeah, I'm watching the questions box. So if anyone has any questions, or if you want to be unmuted, just ask in the questions, and I'll take care of it.
Please shoot. Yes. Okay, so well, the beginning of a project was a pretty classical one. So what we got from the client was just these 2D drawings done in AutoCAD. So pretty classical. Then our first task was, of course, to, oh yeah, I have to mention that we start everything in SketchUp. So this is basically our go-to Maxwell modeler. And I do some stuff in Blender or Cinema if there's something more complex, but then I always import it into SketchUp and use it as a proxy. So this is how, you know, importing a plan looks like in SketchUp. And this is how the modeling, the beginning phase of the modeling looks like. And then we had the whole model of the house, which is like this. And then, so yeah, the workflow is basically split into like four sections. So the first phase we call the draft phase, where we propose scenes of the architecture to the client. Like it depends on what they want to emphasize or show or however whatever. So in order to do these so like test scenes, we just place this super beginner level model into the context. And SketchUp has this neat feature where you can add terrain and geolocate stuff. So that's very useful when you want to do like sun studies. And for example, there's this really cool atrium in the house, and this helped us a lot to like figure out how the sun is supposed to like affect the building and interiors and so on. So for this first draft phase, we would just see the client and say, so they wanted to have like 3 drone shots, because the emphasis of this whole set of images was to try and portray the vast plot of land which is around the house and this big hill up here. So we said, okay, cool, we're going to do like 3 drone shots, and this was used to decide for the scenes, and also to have some data later on when we would actually go on site with the drone and do the photography. And then they wanted 3 like classical exterior shots. So this is one of them, and the second and the third. And these were like some super quick scene proposals for the interiors. So they gave us their blessing, and they liked the scenes. So this was a green light to go and start and do a bit more complex stuff. So then in the next phase, we generated this 3D terrain based on the, I don't know the English word for this, but basically like these elevation lines or something like that. So we generated this in order to be able to place the model a bit more accurately than in the first shot. And yeah, then we started applying the materials, and I have to say that yeah, as far as workflow goes, in this project, we started, I mean, we use the arrowway textures a lot, and this is like a SketchUp file that I made where I have the whole collection done with like really small res textures. So it doesn't choke up like the viewport, and you're super fast to manipulate it. And then let me pop up the scene manager here. Then when you, I mean, basically, yeah, it's like MXM referenced materials. So in SketchUp viewport, you're going to see like super low res stuff, and then when it renders, it's going to be the high res textures and materials that are associated with it.
Could I just ask something here? So you did this sort of to have a sample of the textures, which is better than just seeing them in the material editor, or?
Sorry, I don't think I understood the question.
So I mean, what is the purpose of this scene to have all the samples in the laid out?
So this is like I would have a no. It's equivalent to having like a few of these files open in Windows Explorer. The thing is just like, you know, I already have like a SketchUp plane in real size, and I mean the material applied in real size on a SketchUp plane, and then I just copy it and put it here into this model, and then I apply the colors, I mean the materials from this plane. And
okay.
And you know, I remember this debate also on forum. I think you had some SketchUp similar questions. The thing is like if I have this in low res, it doesn't choke up everything, and it makes everything much smaller and easier to operate.
Mm-hmm.
And
right, because the export tends to take a lot since when you're using big textures, right? Even when you're using Fire for some reason.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Like so this is why I figured this helps a lot. And the reason why I have it in one SketchUp file, like all of the materials, is because, you know, they are already properly scaled here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to start each project by applying this texture and then scaling it properly and blah, blah, blah. It's just a time saver. So I just wanted to show that, I don't know, this is always like, always in this project where it was based a lot on concrete and wood, these were like the beginnings of materialization. And then of course you would adjust the materials later on. But for the initial stuff, this was used in this way. So yeah, I was basically showing like a bit more detailed model, and I think it's this scene that we later took on and rendered and did and started fiddling with it in Photoshop. And then I have a few Photoshop files here open, and basically let me just move this guy. Basically, this is how we start. I mean, it's nothing special, but this is how we start, like placing, trying to figure out like how to position the camera so that then when we render it, it's going to fit on the image and so on. So this is just like an example of the old, of the original like drone shot. And then let's see what's next. so yeah. Yeah, then yeah, in the first in the previous show, oh my God, I forgot to mention like the photo taken aspect. So then when we had all of this set up, we went on location and we took a bunch of photos, and this was then our like post-production base for later on for compositing the renders into these images.
Yeah. Did you take any special steps to line up the model with the photos?
It's
or
just
was it
like
more by eye?
yeah,
By
it's
feeling?
totally by eye. So for example, I don't know, we were lucky enough here. I mean, me and the drone guy were here, and we used the
Drone guy.
size as a yeah, it's a profession, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we use the size as a reference. So for example, when we would try to figure out like how to properly scale this, we would have, I don't know, a 3D guy somewhere in the model, and we would figure out how big it is, and then
Right.
the scene would be done just like by eye. But for example, we were able to do it still pretty exact, you know, due to the fact that we had these kind of like this light green area represents the plot area. So then it's like, you know, it's never like 100% accurate, but it's pretty much there.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we had this photo taking step, and basically after this whole draft scene, we just have like 3 rounds of revisions per image, and we were pretty lucky with this client. It was one of the coolest so far, and he liked a lot of things like in the first go. So yeah, that's pretty nice. And so, for example, it's really funny to see all of these first things. Of course, this is not like detailed at all, you know, but it's just like to give a feeling for the space for the client, or like just to give something so we can have a discussion.
So what you're showing here is one of the test images you're showing them, right?
Yeah, this is basically like the first render delivery. So this was like a set of images based on which we were able to have a discussion. So it goes like, you know, we show the images and then we talk about what things to show or hide or whatever. I draw over the renders and make some comments, and we discuss, and it's super rough and it's super not there yet. It's far from it, but it's like good enough for discussion. And I don't know, we were very lucky with the drone ones because everything was cool here except for the tree was like 3 meters too big, I think. So we just had to skip it. That was cool. Okay, so yeah, and this was pretty much final from the beginning. So that was pretty neat. And yeah, basically then we have these revisions, and I was thinking, I mean, I don't want to like bother you through the whole tedious process of back and forthing, but I prepare like 2 final interior scenes in SketchUp just to show you like so for example, this is what the modeling thingy looks like, and this is the MXI output that we get from it. So for example, I don't know, this plane here, this is basically like the kitchen, and it was just made invisible to the camera. And the thing is, like, so for example, I really wanted to have the reflections of the kitchen here in this atrium glass plane, but you know, if I had it physically, if I didn't have it physically here in the model, then it wouldn't show up in the reflections either. So it's kind of a weird to then navigate, but you know, you just turn it on before you put it to render. And I don't know. I mean, these red boxes, these are like proxies. So
these are all MXS references, right? Of furniture and stuff. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I could go a bit more into detail in this if anybody's interested. But basically, yeah, these guys are just like reference geometry of like highly detailed furniture that SketchUp is not able to
handle, right? Yeah,
to handle at all. Yeah. So, but yeah, there's like, the unfortunate thing is like when you import a proxy into SketchUp, you get just like these boxes, and then I figured a workflow, which I'm just gonna mention by words because I don't want to derail from this topic too much. But it's just this really neat software called 3D Browser, and it has a functionality called Polygon Cruncher. So basically, I would import an OBG or FBX or whatever of that model, put it into Polygon Cruncher, and then just reduce the poly count. And, you know, for example, if I isolate this, like make a super banal low poly representation of that model like this here, and then copy paste this into the MXS reference red box that appears like by default, and then this is way easier to manipulate. It sounds kind of silly thing to do, but it's worth it once you do it. So for example, this lady here, she's also like super low poly. You can see it by the square. I mean, like not round nose and stuff.
She seems angry.
She seems super weird, yeah. But yeah, but yeah, it saves like it makes like SketchUp operate fluidly. And then yeah, this is the output that comes out of it, and of course, like multi-light is one of the key features of I mean, one of my favorite features of Maxwell, and this is usually where I mean I usually like pop emitters into the scene as I feel like, and I mean, according to the lighting scenario that I would like to create and so on, and then all the fine tuning is always done in multi-light. So I was thinking, like, for example, this is like the final MXI, and I can, for example, show you how it looks like in Photoshop. So yeah, okay. So for example, this is how not really nicely organized Photoshop file looks like, but I'm going to show it anyway.
Nobody organizes their Photoshop. I don't know.
I mean, you know, one of the New Year's resolutions this year was to make a system for this, but it's still come out in the schedule. So basically, these are like the original files, and I don't know. For example, I put a picture background here. I did like. Yeah, Michal, you're gonna like this. These are the VisPark tree proxies. Not sorry, grass models.
Great.
Scattered with scatter. So yeah, for thanks. Like for these, sorry.
No, it's just a couple of pixels there on the left, right?
Yeah, like a super little amount of. But still, it's there. So yeah, as far as the vegetation goes, like if it's really like in the first plane, or I mean it's like really close, then I would use 3D, but I would usually overlay it with a picture of grass just to give it that extra spice.
Right.
And these babies here in the back are like a picture from the location, because I also had versions where I would like generate the whole forest also through I think VisPark. Man, we're product placing here. I didn't even mean to do that, but anyway, it's cool stuff.
No, go.
So yeah, and from some other retailers and so on. But you know, it just never gets this whole like juicy like real life look. So yeah, that's why the photos are here. And I don't know, as far as the post goes here, there's really nothing special. I did a super dumb representation of the caustics here, which is just an overlaid picture of a pool here in this area. I don't even know if you can see it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
I don't even know if it's accurate, but it like was a bit better. And I don't know. I just slapped an LUT on it, which felt good. So that was about the post production of this guy. And
so for those maybe listening that don't know an LET a lot, it's like if you can show that the color lookup, what that is, it's like
it's like a color profile, or
yeah, it's maybe a little bit more sophisticated way to quickly make a nice mood, like a filmic mood or something. And Photoshop ships with a few of them. Yeah,
which are actually decent.
And yeah, I like the Kodak ones especially. They seem to work well on Maxwell.
I think I used it. I will show you the picture where that one is used. So yeah, here I applied it and just reduced the opacity to what I like. It's basically
a color lookup adjustment layer. right?
Oh, yeah. Just reduce the opacity of it, because I thought like this effect is too strong, it's too
Right.
Instagrammy, and then I just reduced
Exactly.
it to
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that
That's a nice point
the
actually, because I'm starting to see almost every render looks like something from Instagram. There's like
yeah.
everybody has the same look. So yeah,
Yeah.
I try to avoid that.
Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know how to like technically explain LUTs, but yeah, Instagram filters, I think that that's kind of similar. So yeah, and this image is also pretty much like no fuss thingy. I mean, the thing that was added was the background, and here in the beginning we have just this 3D grass, and I think I have them all here. This is also a trick that I usually do when I want to like show reflections of so yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll just show it. So basically it's this this plane which is also hidden from camera. So I don't have it in the render. I just have this regular window which I can remove with the alpha channel in Photoshop. But I do get the reflections, the subtle thingies here in the pool, and you know it looks like this. So but then I would put the background in Photoshop, just so I have a bit more of like how do you call it, adjustability, or like
Yeah.
to be able to be more flexible. Exactly. Yeah.
So you mean you have a hidden plane in the window?
Yeah. No, not in the window. It's
In
actually
the pool.
out, like here. It's like outside. It's just floating somewhere. It's like
Oh, I see. Okay. Right.
and it's hidden from camera, but not from reflections. So I can see it in the pool.
Right. I see.
In the
Yeah.
pool sphere. It's super banal, but it works.
And the pool is just a flat plane, or it has depth?
It's like super basic material. Let me show you. Oh my, no, it's not here. So.
But it's a flat plane, or it's actually
Yeah. It's a flat plane. Not even like no fancy displacement or whatever. It's just like super simple material.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, and we already went through the post, and I don't know. Yeah, I think I just started using these LUTs lately, but this is like it's like dramatically better like effect, I think, in this image. So this is without, and this is with it, and it's just like it spices it up a bit.
Okay, so I have two questions from people here. So
Sure, please. Shoot.
Adnan is saying if you could talk a little bit more about the lighting setup, how you approach that. You know, how many lights you had in the scene, if you had any issues with lights or any problems to solve there. And then Christoph is asking, I guess for the swimming pool scene, if it's only lit by IBL, or did you also use emitters?
Okay, so I can go through both scenes because they're open in SketchUp here, and I can show you. Okay. And I can have, so I'm gonna first show the MXI file just to show you the amount of emitters that are in the scene. So maybe this is the first answer to Adnan. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and IBL.
And the IBL, okay.
Like 10 emitters, and I can just isolate them. So one is this orangey light over the pool, which I wanted to establish some kind of a warmth in this area. So it's like a super banal combo of blue and orange, you know. So
right.
It works really well everywhere.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, it kind of creates like this focal point over here, and so basically, yeah, I wanted to add some warmth with it, so that's why this is orangey over here.
Right.
And yeah, and also, you know, like how do you, not composition wise, but like I wanted to create a sense of depth in a way that, you know, the lights would be also gradienty in a way. I don't know if this is the term, but
so
just,
that
you know, playing
blend into each other.
No, for example, like if this is our, like, I don't know if this is the word in English, but if this is like the first plane and then the second one and the third one here in the back.
Oh, right.
I something like this. I wanted to create the sense of
foreground,
depth,
middle, and background.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I wanted to create this sense with also playing with the colors, and I wanted to emphasize this middle area here. So that's why this is brighter than this part here. So yeah, then if I go through all these emitters, this is this is a super like unnecessary emitter. But the thing is, like all of these renders have some kind of a person in the scene, of course, to give the sense of scale. and here she's like super hidden behind, so it's like morning, you know, she's just gonna have some cake and she's making coffee and she's doing some dishes over here or something. But I really wanted to have her seen in the reflection in the atrium.
Right.
So the purpose of this light is just to like shine light on her so she can be here. And then we have I don't know, this is something in the pool. I love the way that I get this shade from the tree, so that's why it's there. This guy is just the stove with the gas thingy.
One question is from Karsten, because I know from the forum he's trying to do an animated gas flame in Rhino, which is like a masochistic way. But he's wondering how you did that gas.
Okay, so I think,
emitter.
Karsten, I think I'm gonna have to disappoint you because this is like ultra simple, but
it's not animated, right? He's looking for an animated solution, I guess.
I'll have to disappoint you again. Yeah, no, it's not animated. It's like modeled. So now it doesn't even want to come closer. It's just like modeled cones with the top like I mean it's like a pointy thingy, and then just dispersed around, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like a super low poly body, but just it has an emitter applied of this bluish color, and this is the result that comes out of it. But there was no masochism here, unfortunately.
And it's did you also use like a layer mask for it to make it more transparent, or just lower the opacity, or it just came out that way?
No, I just lowered the intensity to 1, and actually, like I think I made like 4 different exposures of this interior. Like for example, I couldn't get this to shine less than it's here, so I made a version of an MXI where I had the ISO a bit lower or something like that. And then in Photoshop I would make like a version combined with all 4 lighting scenarios and so on. But yeah, this light was here just like. I hope it is not pretentious, but sorry.
No, I was thinking maybe you know the thing that you can change the decimals in the multi-light. So if the lowest is 1 watt, you can change that. Right click and choose decimal precision. Yeah.
Are you serious?
So you don't have to do what you did with the. So it's maybe a little bit faster. Yeah.
Are you serious? Okay.
So you can do 0.1 watts.
Well, thank you for this. Cool. Yeah, this is great info. So yeah, I'll do it from now on like that.
Yeah, because it wasn't possible before, but I think they added some time in version 3, and it's practical sometimes, especially for IBL, because IBL tends to be really, really bright compared to your emitters, and you can't go, you know.
You have like more fine-tuning possibility. Oh my god, yeah, thanks for this one. It's pretty useful. So yeah, and I don't know, this is like this emitter that shines a bit like I wanted to lit the bottom of the tree trunk a bit just to give a bit of a silhouette to the tree, and this one is like shining on the ground. And yeah, I use this Arrowway gravel proxies models and so on, and you know, since it's all 3D, I thought it could be a cool thing to just like illuminate them with this lamp. And
it looks really nice, like, I think, very realistic.
Thanks. It's like, yeah, I was just trying to emphasize the strong points of stuff that's already done in 3D and so on. And I don't know if I'm answering Adnan's question correctly, but basically like the lightning setup was I tried to do it in a way that I could create this like early morning scenario with this girl just waking up and preparing her snacks and doing stuff, and I wanted the lighting scenario to emphasize that. To portray that.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course that was manipulated in post a lot, but and I hope I achieved the desired effect. But yeah, this is then how it came to be. And the question from, was it Christoph, about the lights in the pool?
Yeah, he was asking more if you're using mostly IBL, I guess, especially for the pool scene, or most of the lighting of that is made just by the IBL, or did you boost it somehow also with emitters or something?
Okay, so yeah, I usually use only HDRIs, I use all the Peter Guthrie collection, and I'm looking forward to a certain Maxwell Zone release
Actually, I
in the
just
future.
released them. I released them today.
Are you serious? Today?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
10 so
I will
far,
check
and
them out.
I'll do a plug for my site. That you can go to Maxwell Zone, and
Nice.
there's a reduction for the first week, like an introductory
Ah, fantastic.
price. So
Yeah, I figured those. I mean, the test demos that you released were like finely tuned for Maxwell. I mean, they looked really natural. But yeah, in this scene, I don't have the MXI open. I don't know. I can open it if you want. But just like a quick answer is like, yeah, I use IBL everywhere except in this scene. I used the physical sky because I was then able to like get these super thingies without like messing with the gammas of the HDRIs or so on. I don't know. It just I just like said, okay, I think I was just watching some tutorial and they said like, just don't complicate, use the physical sky, and I tried and it worked great at the beginning. I mean, from the start, and then I just went with it. And I don't know, yeah, I don't have the MXI open, but if I show you like the separate layers of like this, so this is the sun layer that comes from the MXI. And I like the fact that I was able to kind of make like a, so for like the whole ambiental thing, I made like a combination of these two guys in the MXI file with multilight to get the overall feeling, and then I think I had like some emitters here in the scene. There's also a dude here relaxing and looking out the window, and yeah, there was just some lights to put some
on the left side, right? On the left side.
Yeah.
But not in the pool area itself.
No, I actually, yeah, we made mock-ups with nice girls swimming here, but it looked super banal, and I really wanted to emphasize just this thing. I didn't want to make it too cheesy, so then this is how it ended up. Yeah, and I don't know. I have, yeah, sure, please.
So one question: you're using like regular glass planes, every glass materials
no.
everywhere, or how are you making the glass?
I have like I can show you, like I made this is one of the, when I started like doing this in an organized way, this was like the first thing I did was create a few MXMs with AGS materials. So this architectural glass solution Maxwell materials,
right? It's
called, yeah. So this is like, I always start doing windows like this. Is like I have AGS with 1% reflectivity all the way to 100. And I just start, I don't know, with 20, and then see if I like the reflections coming out. It's fine. If they are too strong, I would just use a lower value MXM and play it like this. But for example, the thing that I don't like about them, like this AGS materials, is that it's really hard to achieve these effects. Like when you have like a regular glass material where the
edges,
how to articulate this. Yeah.
The edges of the glass, right?
Yeah. If you do it with an AGS glass material, it's really hard to, I mean, you can't get these edge thingies. So here I did a super like dumb solution of so for example, this plane is like AGS glass, and here, like when we have the joints between glass, it's like I don't even know if I can point it out. It's like a millimeter thick. Yeah, this guy. So this is like the fugue between, or like this layer, the glue or whatever between the glass, and this is like a super thin, like rectangular, extruded rectangle. What's that?
Yeah.
It's not a box, but no. Anyway.
Just a plain.
Extruded plane, yeah, super thin, and this one has the glass material applied there, and in this way I can have like my way of using AGS to fine tune the reflection, and also have this sexy little like small detail here with the glass material.
And can I ask you something? Did you also try before just to do it with glass first to see what it looks like or what happens?
I always had this prejudice of like extending the rendering times if I use glass, you know, because of caustics. I know you can, I guess, switch it off also, but like this is just something like when I started out and I got like, you know, AGS became default for like glass planes, so that's that. I didn't even like reconsider that, but of course glass is used here in these domes. Because with AGS it looked kind of wonky and yeah, it depends. I mean, if it's like a smaller scale thing, if it's like a product, if I have to make a bottle or anything, of course it's glass and
Right.
and
It's just
and all.
for
But
Windows and stuff, you prefer still AGS. Yeah, this is something
yeah.
interesting. I need to do some interior tests to see if there are
Hmm?
any serious problems with glass
This
or.
is, yeah, I don't know. Actually, I mean, the I I have my own like render farm with like 200 threads, so these speed issues aren't like that big of a problem as they were when I was starting out when I had a laptop. But
Mhm.
but still, yeah, this is, I guess, it's just like a habit. So it's like something I've been doing since the beginning. Uh, but like AGS planes and that's it.
Mhm. And do you usually have like do you render also other render channels usually or just
Yeah,
an
yeah,
alpha?
sure, sure. I mean, for this guy, I didn't. I mean, it depends on the project. If it's a product, I would always have like the material ID channel or stuff like that. But here, like, yeah, totally depends on the project. But here, I knew that I'm just gonna like remove the stuff that's here in the windows and replace it with a photo.
Hmm.
And for that, I only needed the alpha. Maybe I can show you, like, I also had like two exteriors prepared, and I think I have a material ID channel over there. So this is one of the drone shot. No, this is one of the drone shots, and I
Hmm.
think this baby had, nope, it doesn't have the material ID channel, but it's, yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
usually use.
yeah, yeah, more or less, just like for finer selecting. And I mean, I know I could get stuff also out from the well, different channels, but yeah, this was good enough for now.
So
Um,
two questions really.
sure.
So do you work a lot with, I mean, now that you've done so many ArchViz renders, I guess you have a material library which you reuse all the time, right?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Of course.
Um, and if you could talk a little bit about that, how you organize it and what
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah. Of course.
what the categories of
Uh,
materials you use. And then second question is
mhm,
from Adnan again. How do you
mhm.
usually calculate the time for a client? How do you tell them, it's going to take 3 days or 1 week or two
Yeah,
weeks? How do
yeah.
you have a thought?
Legitimate question.
Yeah. How much
Okay.
time
Yeah.
actually did you have for this project?
Well, this was a super super relaxed timeline for a project.
Oh.
Basically, it was like, yeah, it was like 2 months. But we also did an animation for it and a VR thingy, which was done in Twinmotion, which is like a game-based engine where you can import like SketchUp models fairly easily and render them also in a very reasonable amount of time, because I mean, they look like video games, but for the purposes of for this project, it was enough. So
Mhm.
basically, all in all, we had like 2 months, and the production of the animation was also included here. And we were pretty fast with the animation because the rendering times were not that high,
Mhm.
so we were able to focus more on the architecture. I mean, it was like, I love the brief for this project. It was like, yeah, we want to show the plot of land and we want to do this house and, just slap some furniture in there. And then when we saw like when we saw the potential of like perhaps like the potential visual impact that the series could have, we took it kind of personally. And we had an okay budget for it, so we got like time to experiment and manipulate like stuff. So we took it personally and we approached it as like our architects, like, but in virtual space. Like, this is the amount of architect that I'm comfortable being, just doing stuff in images. So yeah, so okay, if I continue with this time related question first, it totally depends. Of course it depends on the scope of the project. Like, it comes with like this estimation of time required comes with experience, but it's like not a single project is similar to the other. I would usually ask for a brief for all the files that they have, ask them to come for a meeting, discuss everything, and then try to like book a certain amount of time in which I'm comfortable that I'm going to be able, or we're going to be able to provide them with results that we're trying to deliver everywhere. So I don't know, like the ideal scenario for making an image is a week, like for everything, but you know that in real life doesn't happen. So it's like maybe two, 3 images per week, or it. But look, just yeah, I wouldn't wanna talk about it this way because it totally depends. It's like when I try to explain this to clients, they're like, yeah, sure, but you know, how long did you use for this image? Like, yes, you know, it's like it depends. So you know, with some projects you get just plans and you have to model everything. With some you get like fairly decent 3D models which you can then start redoing with. I mean, yeah. So this is sorry, but unanswerable question. I mean, I can't answer
with
it.
other projects, they just show you a photo and say, "We want something like this. Make it exactly."
Yeah. Sure. No, but yeah, it just depends on the communication. So I mean, when I was starting out, of course you're like happy you can do the stuff that you love, and then you would like say yes to too many things, and that was then like working for like 16 hours and stuff like that. And I try now to just work on this communication at the beginning a bit more, and try to like negotiate reasonable deadlines, because I figured like one thing, it's like you know, the deadline is never as tight as as it is introduced at the beginning. So you know, I mean, of course, when you do the contract, or when you set the execution time for the project, you will deliver on that date that you said. But you know, before that you have some time to negotiate, and you can always like make. I mean, if I can't do it in a comfortable enough time where we can produce results that we're happy with, then I try not to take such projects.
Right.
And
you have become wiser with time.
I'm not sure about that. I'm just maybe more cautious.
Right.
Yeah, but it's really cool now since we're two, because we can share various process parts of how do you call it, like various phases of the projects between each other, and
right.
It's cool. It's cool. And as far as the material library goes, it's like there's this really cool tutorial series for Maxwell and Sketchup by Jason Morento, and I think there were some materials included with that tutorial series, and I think he then released them on the material on the Maxwell Material Gallery. So like as far as this RAL like beginning material, how to call it, like basic materials or whatever. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know how to articulate this. Sorry. So like there's like a huge collection of RAL
the color samples.
Exactly. And these are like a very good basic basis for like, okay, so you have like painted walls in like various accurate colors, and like glass and car paint and so on. So this is what I use as a base a lot of times. And then my material collection looks like this, which is basically super organized for me because I know where it is and what I'm looking for. But if I had to ask someone to like navigate through this, I don't think they would be comfortable. And it's in Slovene, so I don't know if you can understand anything. But yeah, like
it
as I mentioned
to be
at the beginning,
alphabetical. That's something.
That's true. But
yeah, doing it.
But the Arrowway collection is a pretty like a strong asset to have, because it already comes with MXM material presets, and then when I organized it to be like super efficient in SketchUp like this is also always like some kind of a starting point, and then like various other sites where you can buy textures and yeah, create MXM presets for it. But yes,
So
Sorry,
you
there's also not an exact answer.
so you don't use very much the built-in sort of material creation in the SketchUp plugin in Maxwell, or do you just go via MXED usually?
The thing is, like, okay, so in the draft scene, I would always use that because I don't want to have big textures in the preview models in the models for the preview renders, because if I slap like 6,000 or 6K textures in there, it's going to take longer to export. So I would just like usually do it with with just the built-in thing and adjust it, like, just it's either diffuse or it's shiny, so like this, and then this is good enough for the draft thing, and then I would usually do the MXM stuff, because I also remember from these tutorials that I mentioned before that you can get much nicer results than the built-in thing, and I don't know, I kind of do the MXMs then when it's ready to go into more high def.
Right, because then you can also create the library and stuff, right?
Exactly. This is what I like about Maxwell a lot. It's like this thing is external, so it's not like a SketchUp related. I can use it also in Cinema or in Blender, or the thing is, sometimes I would do when I'm preparing the proxies, I would use Studio, and then I would just drag and drop the MXM material presets into Studio, and this is super useful, and that's pretty cool. And sorry.
No, it's another question. Karsten, he was wondering how you go about with the texture scaling, but I guess in your scene here, you're just using the scaling directly from SketchUp, right? You're setting the texture width.
I'm like if we want to see how this concrete texture is scaled, I'm just gonna use the built-in SketchUp thingy. So this is moving the texture, and this is making it smaller, and that's basically it as far as the scaling goes. Or you can do it here via the I don't know how to call it, the gizmo or whatever.
The material. So you don't use the what's it called, the texture thing via the material. It has a scaling.
You mean in the MXM, the thing?
Yeah, or both in SketchUp and the MXM. I mean, how do you determine the correct scale, so to speak, for a certain
I don't know.
texture?
Okay, so here we don't. Here we don't have like some raster that is. Okay, here where we have concrete, I would just do it the default textures come in. I think it's like a plane of 4 times 4 meters, and it's already done like that, and it's as it's supposed to be in nature. For example, I was working on a project before where we had to do like tiles on a wall, and they are each like 15 times 15 centimeters big, and I just adjusted it like by it's super stupid, but I just did the SketchUp resize tool, make it small, and then I measured it with the line tool, 15 centimeters. Okay, now it's cool scale. So that was it.
Oh, okay.
but I don't use anything else. I mean, I like the way that this SketchUp viewport representation of the texture scale is then maintained when you put it to render. So
in your Maxwell materials, I guess the tiling is always set to 1, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So when the tiling is 1, then whatever you see in the SketchUp viewport in the scale, that's what it's going to be in the render,
That's
right?
what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I think I mean for the way I work, I think that's the best option. And then in some cases I had to change that tiling, but within the MXM material, but I usually don't, because I want the thing to come out rendered as I see it in the viewport, basically. So here we have this tile example. So for example, this is you can see it here in the bottom. This is like a tile which is 2.4 meters wide, and then I go here in the material settings, and okay, this is the whole texture is like 450 centimeters by 450, and if I put it to 900, I'm gonna increase the
double, right? Double the tiling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you're just using the scale in SketchUp. You're not doing anything in the MXM itself. The MXM is always tiling 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. so it can render as it's in the screen.
Mm-hmm. Great. Carson is also asking, where do you get your 3D people from?
3D people. These are from Axis Design, AXYZ Design, and they're pretty decent. I actually worked for them on a few images, and I did some tutorials for them as well. And yeah, these are like the proxies that I mentioned before of them. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I was like a full 3D guy for a really long time until I figured that it's good to also go on the other side in post. So I would usually do everything in 3D, you know. So then placing people into renders was a really tedious thing, and you never could get the results right, and there was a lot of post work and blah blah blah. And I just figured all the benefits of using. I mean, when I figured all the benefits of using these 3D guys, it was like it was really cool. But you know, it's not something that I would use like in the front. How do you say? How did you say? The foreground?
In the foreground, right?
Yeah. Unless it's something like, I don't know, in this image, this is a 3D guy, but he's so out of focus that, you know, what matters is its silhouette and the representation. So this is cool. But, you know, these guys are like photogrammetric models. So the hair can be sometimes a bit weird or so, but they look super mid-ground and in like the third plane thing. I can't remember.
Background, you mean?
Oh, come on. Yeah, background. Super sophisticated terminology.
Yeah. So I guess it's foreground, middle ground.
Middle ground, yeah.
I don't know.
Middle Earth.
Middle Earth.
Mordor. Yeah.
What was that? Ask. Did you contact me a while ago about those 3D people of human? What was that site called? Or was it somebody else? Also, with a collection, they make collections of 3D people.
With hair, I think it's Human Alloy as well.
Human Alloy, that's right.
Yeah. They seem nice as well.
You contact me about that, or
no,
was it somebody
no.
else? No, because they have I have to maybe.
They have like 3D hair, I think.
Yeah, they have 3D hair, but they have very how you say? They use opacity maps. And the opacity maps are so thin. I mean, the only area that's going to be visible in the opacity maps is like a thin strip of 1 pixel, and they have a bunch of them. And so with Maxwell, that sort of shuts down the render. I mean, the benchmark goes to something like 5. And
okay.
I was meaning to contact them to say maybe they should change the opacity maps
another way
to work for better. Yeah, with Maxwell. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to take note of that. Because they have some pretty nice human collections.
Yeah. I mean, this whole area of like human assets, it's improving quite a lot, and they are, I mean, really like pretty believable. I don't know. I just love it how easy it is to place someone and just get a sense of, okay, so I mean, this guy is super hidden here, but if you pay attention when you explore the picture, if you do, you get a sense of scale and like human. Proportions and whatever. And I love the fact that, you know, it just blends in according to the light scenario that you have in your scene. And
yeah, you don't have to mess around
nice, you know?
with post stuff. I mean,
plus,
what would you say is the most time-consuming step in a project that you have?
Time-consuming step?
The most time-consuming usually.
Yeah. Trying to convince yourself that this is already good enough or detailed enough. Like, you know, there's I hope this didn't sound wrong, but there's like a lot of times when you know that for the client it's okay, and then you just like oh, crap, maybe I should move this rug like to the left for 2 centimeters or to the right or blah blah blah. So this is time consuming. Like I think when so, you know, along the way you learn that not all projects are going to be like portfolio projects. And if you are able to make a difference between that and provide, of course, good results in the portfolio and not portfolio projects, but not waste time in details that don't matter, like optimizing that's a big thing to if you manage to achieve that as a freelancer. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess like doing light scenarios at the beginning and trying to figure out what you want to portray with your image, what you want to say. I mean, I don't want to overemphasize on this whole narrative thing, because there's, you know, if there's always this talk of like, yeah, I try to make a story and so on, but you know, if you're doing like a 3D render of a mattress, you can't really tell a story there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
it's
know,
just a product and that's it.
But in archviz, you can. It's pretty possible,
Oh,
and it's cool.
one question here about the beveling. Do you usually bevel all the edges or just some edges,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you bevel?
for sure. It's like I mean, this is super subtle effect is worth doing that.
Yeah.
But it's a little tedious in SketchUp, so I would usually do that at the very end. I know, like Peter Guthrie, because when he was still starting stuff in SketchUp, he would always like have one geometry of, for example, if we say this block here of concrete, he would have like a block like this, blah blah blah, and then he would make a group and hide it, and then use another one which he would then cut the edges, you know. And then whenever because it's not parametric, you cannot redo this once it's done. Yeah. So whenever he would need the original geometry, he would just unhide it. But I think that was like just too much work. I burned myself a few times, like rounding everything at the beginning, and then I just learned that, okay, we do this at the end.
At the end, yeah. It happens to me.
Not worth it.
Yeah, especially it does. Sometimes that plugin doesn't work so well, especially with openings and stuff. It just creates faces where you don't want them and stuff.
Yeah, with openings it does faces. Yeah, but yeah, I'm really happy for this Fredo guy, the SketchUp plugin developer. He saved quite a few hours. So.
Yeah. And what's your render resolution like usually for these clients?
It depends. Like I try to deliver everything in 4K. And then if they just need it for the web, and if it's something that needs to be like 20 images of something that I don't know, then it could be lower. But I always think that like it's really unsustainable to do anything less than 3K or 4K. You know, like in the long run, if I want to do like an exhibition or something in like 10 years or whatever, and I go through all the files and they are all done in only full HD, it's not good for printing, for example. Or I don't know, you know, sometimes maybe a client will call you after 3 years and they will want something in high res, and then it will be really tedious to just re-render it again. And
right.
So I mean, I think in the long run it's better to do it like as high res as possible.
Okay, so maybe I just had one more question.
Sure.
But it's more sort of, what are your impressions now with version 4, and you know, what would you like to, for your workflow, what would you like to see in Maxwell? What's like the next thing? Well, of course, besides GPU.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've done some tests with GPU. It's really impressive how much faster it is, especially for exteriors. I mean, I only have like a 1070, and an exterior was like 53 minutes on the CPU, and then 9 minutes on the GPU.
Yeah. No, it's insane. It's pretty good. I'm really looking forward to.
I mean, imagine if you put 3 of those in your computers, like 2 minutes render instead of 1 hour. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had to prepare a quote for like a series of products, and they really wanted like turntable animations, and I figured, okay, this would be really fine. This would be really nice if I was able to do it on the GPU. And I mean, if it was faster, if it made any sense. So I made some tests, and I have like a dual octa-core Xeon in the workstation and a 1080 Ti. And I think the graphic card did it like 4 times faster or something like that. I can't remember the times, but it was great. I mean, I would put it on the farm for the final thing in any case, because it's still much more CPUs. But yeah, imagine having like 3 TIs if all those Bitcoin miners wouldn't buy all of them, and it'd be really nice.
Yeah, I mean, each card, like, I don't know what it is, 500 euros or something for the latest one with 11 gigabytes, and
yeah,
it's blazing. But so besides the GPU stuff,
yeah. I mean,
what would you like to see? Like maybe you mentioned you bevel everything, so that would be a nice addition to have like a material bevel stuff, so you don't have to do this in the model. That would be nice, I think, right?
You mean something like edge materials
Yeah, yeah.
in V-Ray? Yeah, that would be lovely. I mean, because for example, in these kind of concrete materials, where you have this edge, it would be really nice if we were able to portray like these imperfections via like a edge material thing, if that's possible. I don't know how that is done. And I don't know, I actually really not actually I really like the denoising feature, but I would really love some more like parameters to fiddle with it,
Right? Yeah.
to control it. Yeah. And yeah, it's not, I couldn't get it to work properly through the network renderer. I mean, when I get the results back from the farm, I cannot redo those things. I was talking to Fernando and he gave me a workflow, but I couldn't for now it's something I don't use that much yet. But yeah, definitely like a bit more denoiser, like how do you say, flexibility, or like possibilities to manipulate. And I don't know, I mean, speed is of course obvious like answer, but I don't know, I figured like when sorry,
you're mostly happy.
I mean, the thing is like it's never good enough, of course, but I don't know, when I was starting out and when I was still studying and when I was trying to figure out which tools I like the most, I realized that I have this scenario of either, but of course things are different now with V-Ray, but back then I was like, okay, damn, I have to learn like whole loads of parameters for each type of scene if I want to make nice shots for interiors or exteriors, blah blah blah, and that was just too much. And Maxwell gave me like instant quality, but you know, it was a bit slower. So then I just figured, okay, I'm just gonna buy more computers, and just focus on the content more. And now the computers wait for me, and that's like the fact I'm happy about, because if it was the other case around, of course, yeah, if you're, I don't know, yeah, speed is always welcome, but and the other stuff, I don't know.
Do you do a lot of vegetation usually, or not so much?
Yeah. I mean, but this is the thing. Like I mentioned before, that I used to be like a full-on 3D guy, and I would try to do everything in 3D. Of course, it has a lot of benefits, but then I figured that it never looks like as, of course, as in nature, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. This is like a super weird example, but maybe I can explain with it what I meant. So like this top of the house has like 3D grass on it. And,
right. Okay. No, it looks pretty good.
But yeah, no. But the thing is, then it was overlaid, you know, with a texture of grass, just to give it a bit more of this natural imperfections and of color variation and so on. But I would always have it like for bases, and for the base, but then I would overlay something over it.
Yeah, that's a nice tip.
I mean, yeah, when I started this, like, of being the full 3D guy before that, when I realized that I can also use Photoshop and still like not feel bad about it, it was much easier to do stuff. So if this sentence make any sense.
Yeah. So somebody's asking if it's overlaid in Photoshop.
Yeah.
He's probably asking about the grass. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
by the way,
this was.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the way we started working on these images is that, you know, when it was a nice weather and it was the same time that we wanted to do the time in the renders, we would go there and take loads of photos, like I showed before, and I would always make like 100 pictures. I don't know, because you can't ever have too many. But then, you know, in post, I would use that material to overlay a texture over a texture over a texture. So in this image, for example, it was pretty we were pretty lucky from the beginning, but we still had to patch some. So this is the original image, and this is like the shopped one. So we
Right.
just removed the trash from here, and we actually placed pictures of grass here where there wasn't any. So yeah, this was done in post.
I see. So let's see. Oh, right. With the someone's asking with the Xeons, have you had any trouble with the dual Xeons? Any
No,
slowdowns or stuff like that?
no, not at all. I have so 5 i7s and like computers that I built myself, and then I have 5 workstations with dual Xeons. I don't remember the processor number, but it's like 2.6, I think, gigahertz, and they're like equivalent of like 3 i7. I don't know. It's
All right.
no, but no any slowdowns. Do you mean because of this meltdown bug or something? That was just
No, it was somebody posting on the forum. I think it was D. Meyer. He's the guy that seems to have all the
recent
hardware on Earth to play
Okay.
with, and he was mentioning that he found a bug that if you use a custom alpha on a dual Xeon machines, it turns like 10 times slower or something like that. But just with the custom alpha for some reason.
I see it. Yeah, I see the thread. No, I never had any slowdowns that I would like thought that this was the reason.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Let's see if you have some tips on working in SketchUp to speed things up. What kind of plugins do you use usually? If you could mention a few.
Sure. Yeah, there's loads of plugins I can show you. So the most important ones for sure are like well, first get this. So there's 2 ways of plugging plugins into SketchUp. One is the extension store by this website platform called Sketchucation, and the other one is this built-in functionality with the I think it's called extensions. Yeah, and then you have somewhere you have the extension manager. So this is like the Trimble's alternative. It's like the official thing, but you can find some things here and some things there and so on, and it's really nice because so if I show you this extension store, you know, if the cool thing about SketchUp for me is like, you know, whenever I would have a problem when I would really want to do something and I would have a feeling that it's possible to do it in a faster way, I would try to look for a plugin, and I would realize that there was some guy before me who already had that issue and did a plugin. And that's fantastic, and I was never disappointed. So yeah, the most obvious ones that you really need in life are like the stuff by a guy called Fredo6. He's like the default dude. I think it's super important to have all of his stuff. So for example, Round Corner is his plugin, which is this guy for like doing round edges. It's super like self-explanatory. I don't want to go show everything, but or for example, one of the lifesavers was this dude. Was this plugin called Fredo Scale. It's by the same guy, and I'm just gonna show you like. For example, this is a window frame, and you wanna make it a bit wider, and you know you don't want to redraw everything. You've got like a Fredo scale thingy here, which means like if I stretch this, it's gonna keep the width of these profiles, but still, you know, if I use the regular scale.
Oh right, it's gonna make those thicker, and
it's gonna make it like this, and it sucks, and you have to basically do every window separate. Or if you use it like this, it you know it does this, but there's a bonus. If you click here, press tab and press like, I don't know, 500 centimeters, it's going to do it like this. So this speeds up a lot of things.
That's nice
for modeling. And I mean, this was one of the tedious SketchUp things that I couldn't come around until then. Then you have some things by him which are like joint push pull. So for example, if you have a sphere and if you want to push pull like different parts of that sphere, you can select 5 of them. I mean, they are not planar, but you can still kind of like push pull them as if you would offset a sphere or something. I don't know if this made any sense. And also there's like there's like loads of them. I can just like name them, and I really strongly advise you take a look at them. One of them is so Fredo 6, like just get everything. Yeah. just get everything by this guy, and you have like nice in this SketchUp store. You have like nice links with to the website where you can get like quick GIF tutorials and how to use them, and it's super useful. So everything by Fredo 6. Then there's this Artisan plugin. It's payable, but it's pretty cool. It's for subsurface modeling in SketchUp. So for
subsurf, so it works.
no, sorry, what is it? Subdivision modeling. What the hell am I talking about?
No, yeah,
Sorry,
I mean
meant
subdivision modeling. It works in SketchUp because
yeah.
it doesn't
Watch this.
go crazy.
It's a cube, and now it's a sphere. And if this crashes now, I'm gonna laugh my ass off. Okay, cool. No, it still works.
Oh,
so yeah,
amazing.
and then you know, you just like you just tell him the amount of like 2x is gonna make it more detailed on blah blah blah. And this is super useful, you know, when you get like models from the warehouse, which are usually not detailed at all, and you can give them a bit of extra like roundness, and it smooths them really nicely, so it's cool. And it's also super useful, you know, if you like wanna do your own terrain, you can yeah, okay. Let me just do it manually then. You can like paint terrain here, for example, like with this thing. So, you know, if you had this in so more fidelity, you can
paint the subdivisions.
Exactly. So, for example, if I want to do a quick no, this can take some time, but I guess you imagine what I mean. Yeah. It's just, yeah, you just subdivide the plane and then you can, it's like a 3D brush tool inside SketchUp, and it's useful for a lot of things. Then this guy is really cool. I mean, this is integrated sandbox tool where you can do like terrain from these lines, level lines, or how is it called? A super useful new one is called Scatter. You know it already, and this is like
I like Scatter.
It's so amazing for scattering different objects. So you can do vegetation, you can do stone, you can do trees, whatever. Super cool. Then there's a few cool ones by this guy called, okay, so cleanup is a necessary one. It basically cleans. So if you import a model for SketchUp from some other software, some other 3D model, blah blah blah, you would usually get like these diagonal lines where you don't need them. It's just like a bunch of lines that you have to clean up. And this guy has a functionality where you can just clean all the coplanar lines which don't define the geometry, or like remove, like purge unnecessary items from the model which are not visible there but for some reason still have a definition and are like still in the model even if you don't see them or don't use them. Then the material tools are amazing. So for example, if I want to remove this concrete material and I'm not sure, you know, if, for example, this is a 10 times bigger scene and I can't see all of it and I really want to remove this concrete thingy, I'm just gonna, yeah, okay. So extensions, material tools, remove specific material, and this guy is material 24, and you would click it here and you would remove it and it's gone from the whole model.
Oh, that's great. Material tools.
Material tools. So that's one thing, and the second one is material replacer. Okay, so yeah, now it's gone. But for some reason, it's also transparent, which I guess a transparent material is the default material in this scene, which is but it doesn't matter. And material replacer tool is also super neat. Basically, you just this is like. So this is some material and I want all of the objects with this material in the whole scene to be green all of a sudden. You just go window, extensions, no, tools, material replacer, and replace this one with this one, and it's replaced everywhere. And this is like super useful when you have like huge things. And
that's great, yeah.
And you need to change stuff.
I'll take note of these.
These are pretty nice. And there's a cool one called Maxwell Render. It's cool for rendering, so that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, I heard of it. Yes.
Yeah, product placement. But no, it's yeah. And if I mean, I could go on for a while. So if anybody has any other like question regarding the plugins or whatever, just
Yeah, I'm not sure if
drop us a
anybody wants
line.
to has a microphone if they would like to ask something or say something or complain about something or.
Please do if you can.
Let's see. Karsten was pretty active.
Nice. Hey, Karsten.
Let's see. How...
Yeah, because I can't see any of these comments.
Fernando,
here,
can we unmute Fernando? Hello. No.
Hello.
Karsten, are you here?
Hi guys.
Hello.
Thanks for sharing. My problem is I have to bring my little boy to bed, so I'm. So I have to watch this afterwards again, and I do have more questions, but hey, for now I'm good. Thanks so much.
Great.
Great work. Really. I really enjoyed what you told me.
Very fantastic. Yeah, feel free to drop us a line next time, or like whenever, and I can give you a help if I can.
Yeah. And again, if you have a gas plane for me animated, I'm really.
I'm really curious. I'm really curious about the brief of that project. But yeah, sure. If I get some info, I'll let you know.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, it's not that hard to basically just create a gas cone or little flame and just put a blue emitter on that. That's simple.
No.
I have that too, but I need it to be animated and ignited. So basically. And then it follows a ring. So, oh boy.
And you want to do it in Rhino. That's really the problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was also looking into Bongo. Bongo. I do all my animations in Rhino with Bongo and then export via the Maxwell plugin. But the problem is I would have to go into Grasshopper. Maybe you heard of it.
Yeah.
And I have to particle system there, and that is just insane.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's crazy.
I think I'm going to do it with just switching on and off different layers, and then take it from there. Bigger flame is followed by a smaller flame, which has the same colors. That's what I'm aiming for. So yeah, but this is not the topic. But that's my problem right now.
Nice.
No, great work, really. I wanted to tell you, great work.
Thanks.
Yeah, some great renders on his site. Mirce, you should all go check it out.
Yeah.
It's open on the different screen, anyways.
Cool.
Nice. Okay, I have to go back up and keep on going. And thanks a lot. That was just
thank you.
Very nice, all of you guys. And thank you, Mihai, for always helping me out too.
Yeah, no problem. I hope we can do this. It becomes a regular thing, and people can just come and join, and they can, if they have any questions, just ask. It's supposed to be an informal sort of gathering of Maxwell users, and hopefully we also have some feedback for the developers. So we can tell them we want this.
I mean, I have a few things I really need and want. Since I do have a render farm, I own my own render farm, and the denoiser on the render farm is just not working for me.
That's what I mentioned before as well. Yeah.
It just sucks, and it takes forever to merge and So I was happy to see that there is a denoiser in there, and I go, yes! And then all of a sudden, oh no, it's not working.
Yeah, even more frustrating, right? When it's almost there, but nah.
Yeah. I know. And well, hopefully they kind of work on that and get it fixed or something. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I mainly do interior architecture and product renderings for bigger companies. So for me, your input was very interesting because of all the lighting of rooms and areas.
Okay.
So that was something I sort of do the same way, but my results do kind of look different. So yeah, that was very interesting. Thank you so much again.
Cool. No
All
worries.
right, now I gotta go, and you keep talking, guys. Okay? Thanks a lot.
Talk in your
All right.
Ciao.
See you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye bye. Well,
Uh,
I think we're still here. If nobody else wants to say something, or ask Mirce or myself something, I think we can call it done. It's almost 2 hours now. It's amazing. Time flies. It's too bad we're not in reality. Now we could go to some bar and have a beer
For a
and
beer, yeah.
talk some more
Beer.
render stuff. It seems it's all we do, you know.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
when I
that's
was
what the meetups are for. That's
yeah. You start, looking at stuff. I remember when I started with Maxwell, I was paying a lot more attention to how a glass of water was reflecting on the table and stuff like that. Became obsessed with stuff like that. But anyway, I hope people enjoyed this, and we can make this, a bi-weekly thing. And if you have any suggestions on what you would like to say or see in these Maxwell TV episodes, please contact me on the forum or on email. It's mihai@maxwellzone.com. And thanks so much, Mirce, for attending the first episode, the first guest
my pleasure.
of this. It's going to be a huge thing in the future. You'll see. We have sponsors and stuff now.
Wonderful.
And it was a very nice presentation. I learned quite a few things as well. And
Thank you.
I'll see you guys for the next episode then. Right?
Wonderful. Well, till next time. See you
Okay.
around.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
See you for the
Bye-bye.
second episode.
That was the sound effect, at the end, because you need a sound effect at the end.
Yeah, I kept it. It's on the recording. It's going to be forever on the internet now.
Oh yeah, the outro. Okay, ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Bye.